And then we had, a quick cold front come through, and we had like a 1 week lull, but truly all through May was really, really good fishing.
I'm all about, first of all, everything outdoors. It's just, part of who I am. I love to hunt and fish and dive and spearfish.
That imports all the Century blanks into the USA. And he called me up and he said, "Hey, Frank, can I talk to you?" And we started talking one night about a blackfish rod.
And I was absolutely obsessed from that moment on, and stopped fishing entirely for any other species, and just learned and obsessed and became really driven to just fish this really elusive fish that's like super rare.
Welcome back to another episode of Anglers Anonymous Podcast. This is yours truly, Aaron Snyder, sitting down with some of the world's leading tackle manufacturers in the business, captains, first mates, and anyone that loves the outdoors as much as we do. So I hope you guys get as much as I have gotten out of sitting down with some of the guests that I've had the pleasure of interviewing. Stay tuned, guys. Much more to come. Ladies and gentlemen, I have Bruce Stout from the Northeast, well-known charter captain, fairly successful, man. I mean, I have to say, every trip that I've seen so far, the fish gods have blessed you. But, I mean, you seem to be doing very well for yourself on the water and producing fairly large fish, dude.
Thanks, man. I work hard for those. I started years ago. I was 12 years old working deck on a party boat. Bunch of us young kids just dying to scrub buckets at the end of the day, and
Sure.
I just was fortunate enough to grow up working with some of the best. If you know any guys from the Northeast, Jerry on the Fishmonger, like very, very well-known charter boat. I worked side by side with him for years since we were 12 years old up until, he bought this new recent boat. And
no way.
What's that?
I said, no way, dude. Yeah, I know him fairly well, not personally, dude, but I mean, if you're in the Northeast and you're doing your thing, dude, I mean, word travels on what boats you need to be on,
Absolutely. So, I worked deck for him for years, and then there was no room for advancement. He's a one-man show. Everybody wants Jerry. So I bought a boat, and I just started fishing, and we still work together. I still talk to him every day. I let him know what I do. He lets me know where he goes so we don't end up on the same stuff, so we can have a good day,
Sure.
But, I had to change my game a little bit with these party boats. Our reefs are so pressured here with all the party boat action and just the charter boats. I mean, Jerry's posts alone are enough to attract every boat within 30, 40 miles,
Right.
And some of the better fishing is more down south, but it's just you have a lot of very, very good toggers up here that have been black fishing for, 10 plus years that know these waters. So we make it look. Sorry about that.
Yeah, you're good. You're good.
So, but it is getting tough. I think our big mass of fish is pushing north. But that's okay. We're still going to do what we do,
Sure. Yeah. And you know what made you adapt other than, the party boats really pressuring your reefs? Was it like a drive to just find that untouched reef where not too many captains or even locals know about? Or was it in search for that just monster blackfish and that like secret honey hole of your own?
I'm going to be honest. Time in,
Yeah.
I was out there pretty much as long as my boat could handle it. Ask anybody that fishes with me. If it's blowing, I'm going. And I pretty much paid attention where everybody was, And because I'm fishing these local reefs, I did, I can't tell you the amount of hours I have into research on some of these charts and these reef books and stuff like that. It's insane, and you learn people's patterns and you learn where people go and you learn, I learned how to double anchor as soon as I got my boat. I had an anchor tree. So I was double anchoring for years, and a lot of people didn't know how to do that when I was younger,
Right.
So that was a huge advantage for me myself. Before I owned my own boat, when I was fishing with buddies, single anchoring, we might get one or two big fish, but I wasn't putting up the numbers like I'm putting up now,
Right. Yeah, no, it's impressive that you're double anchoring, dude, because I tell you what, man, I mean, I've been planning your trips offshore, dude, with 20-foot pro line where we'd throw a rec anchor, and then, you know, if we got into them and we started knowing that, okay, our drift or the wind is kind of shifting us, and we needed that kind of just minute adjustment that one anchor can't give us, we'd throw that other anchor. But 9 out of 10 of times, dude, we had no idea what we were doing, and we'd get that really expensive anchor stuck, and we'd always get the reef one back. You know what I mean? But we'd never get ours back. But I mean, that's impressive that you figured the double anchoring out soon in the game, man, because that'll change everything before fish finders, I'm sure. I mean, trolling motors, I'm sure.
Well, that's another thing that changed the entire game too, and a lot of people hate me for it. You know, I think it's going to destroy the blackfish fishery all in itself. Everybody's a black fisherman now, you know, but I'm not going to lie. I'm part of that spot lock crew, and that spot lock is an absolute game changer. I put up, you know, 6 fish in Jersey over 20 pounds last year alone. I couldn't do that on double anchors, not for the simple reason that I couldn't get to it, just the simple reason that I couldn't cover as much ground in the amount of time to find where they lived and to be able to get back on that exact dot time after time again. I mean, once you find out where they live, that's their home, and there's a lot of them.
Sure. I mean, if you have the technology on the boat, dude, where you could pin it on, you know, your screen, and then be able to kind of like talk to your screen and your trolling motor and move back on top of where, you know, you hit a man overboard or you marked a spot. Game changer, dude. I mean, you know, even with the double anchors, that's a workout, man, to try and get back onto a dot. You know what I mean? Yeah, but listen, you know what, dude? I've never fished the area hard enough where you're at now, dude. And you spoke a little bit about coming south for these fish. Are we talking about blackfish or striper? Are you talking about blackfish coming south a little bit for them?
Oh yeah, mostly blackfishing.
Yeah, and is it just the difference of reefs that we have more south in New Jersey, or what are you looking for when you basically go offshore for these big blackfish, dude?
To be honest, there's no pressure down there.
Okay.
You know, and that body of fish, when I started togging years ago, when I was single anchor and knew nothing, didn't even have a fish finder, I just knew where bottom was because I would fluke it and mark it, like you said, man overboard. And I'm talking when I was young. As long as you had bottom, you caught tons of blackfish. It was beautiful. Right. And nobody cared about it because you had to do it in the middle of the winter. So 90% of the boats were pulled anyway. So for guys like me, the charter guys, I was doing it on my days off because I enjoyed it so much. And then we found out about the Delaware fishery. And this is back in like the early 2000s when the Bandit, Scotty Gold, and again, Jerry Pastorino, you know, a bunch of guys that I still fish with today, we all went down there. And when I tell you there was 30, 40 fish over 15 pounds every single day, that's not even a joke. They would go to spots inshore, and we were so bad, we wouldn't drop to the bottom. We would drop halfway down and say, yeah, Cap, no bites. We got to go deeper. Just so we know he would take us to the spot where there was all monsters, you know what I mean? Right. And it's such a fishery. So once that got pounded, you know, you had 10 party boats down there. Everybody made so much money. Then now that gets wiped out. So pretty much once you go south, you know, Ocean City, Virginia area, those guys really, they don't deal with them much, you know. Even if they do, they go offshore, they go do their tuna fishing, their tile fishing. They'll stop at a wreck on their way home for their sea bass, and magically they all have, you know, slob blackfish on the deck.
I know.
It doesn't take a dummy to realize something's going on there. If they're just stopping on their way home, not even putting 4 or 5 hours on a barge to find the hole where the 25 or 30 pounder lives, you know what I mean?
Sure.
I think it's a whole different game, but it's hard for the charter guys to do it. But in Ocean City, like that guy Monty Hawkins that you know Kelly talks about, that guy is a complete animal. He builds all his own stuff. He has all his own stuff set up in the ocean perfectly. He knows what fish you're going to catch where. That man has it down to a science. It's insanity. So once I started fishing with him, it was just like, you know, in my head, I'm thinking, well, I got to venture further south because I can't jump into this man's area. I don't want no bad blood with these guys. I enjoy going to Ocean City with all my buddies. You know, guys from Long Island, bunch of big fishing crews. You know, there's like 40 or 50 of us that all end up down there certain times of the year, and we all end up sharing a boat together, you know. But I just always had bigger dreams, you know. I was chasing a line class record for years, and I thought I broke it twice, and my line didn't pass with the IGFA. I actually just finally got it last year, within 6 miles from my own inlet. It was 19.7 on a 12-pound test.
That's impressive, dude. That's super impressive.
Thank you.
Bruce, to any top fisherman out there knows the difficulty of that line diameter, dude, with a pound of fish like that, dude. I mean, that is just that's unreal, dude. That's quite a feat, dude. Especially, it's even more special that it was in your home waters. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't down south. It wasn't up north. It was in your home waters. That just made it 10 times better, I'm sure.
Yeah, I ran my own boat. You know, it was me and one of my buddies. I said, listen, man, let's go try a spot I haven't hit in a while. So I'll tell you a quick story about that.
Please, yeah.
And I'm fishing light at this point because I still want to break the record. I just got the bad news from the IGFA. My line broke too heavy. So I went even lighter. They recommended line to use, so I used what they told me. I hooked this fish first bait in the water. I thought I was going to lose him, ran to another piece, almost broke me off, but I landed him luckily. So we threw him in the live well, ran in, weighed him at a legitimate weigh station, got back out on the piece within like the next hour, dropped down again, and I guess I hooked the female.
Okay.
I had absolutely no shot. She didn't break me off the piece I was fishing on. She took about 150 yards and broke me off on a rock pile next to it. On the same amount of drag and the same amount of everything that I just landed, that one that was almost 20 pounds, I had absolutely no shot with that fish.
Wow, dude.
You know, there's some big fish to be had in New Jersey, but it's just, you know, not anybody can go get them. I take guys there that aren't insane with it like I am, and they just don't understand, like, oh, I'm not getting bites. My crab's falling off. Like, your crab don't fall off, you know what I mean? That's one thing happening, my brother, and it's just
sure.
I truly enjoy that, you know, just from the charter fishing, just seeing my buddies just get that bite across, and they're like, "Whoa, what was that?" Like, it was a small fish, you know, knowing that probably 15 pounds, and he's gonna be there, and hopefully it doesn't break you off.
Yeah, you don't come up with hollow legs for nothing, dude. That's for sure. You know.
Absolutely.
Damn, Bruce. I tell you what, the more I talk, dude, the more I feel like I'm looking in the mirror, bro, because there's a lot of guys that I talk to that don't share the same drive in the science behind fishing that I do. You know what I mean? Like, I obsess, bro, about tides and temperature and pressure and, you know, bait migrations. And I try, because I'm a firm believer in being able to figure out a species. You're never going to figure it out completely, but I mean, if the information's out there for you to better yourself and to better the chances, why not suck it in, bro? You know what I mean? So I feel that coming off of you, dude, and that shows it. You know, your capabilities as being a captain. I mean, you're out there fishing different charters for fun when you're not working, dude, just to learn and take in what you can to bring it back to yourself and make yourself a better captain. So kudos to you, big guy.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate that. Listen, like you said, man, the information's out there. These guys buy boats and they want to become fishermen. The best news I can give you, listen, you start a job, you do your research, you learn how to do that. You know what I mean? If you care enough about it, the research is out there, just like I was showed, you know, and I'd be willing to show people as well. That's why I'm telling you now. The research is out there. All our reefs up and down the entire East Coast are known. Put the time in, learn the stuff, and watch the results. It's amazing what will happen if you put a little bit of work in. Now, when you put a lot of work in, you see what the results are then as well. So it's really what you want out of it. And like you said, there's not a lot of guys like us, but I do know quite a few. And I tell you what, I stay pretty damn close with them guys because I know they want it just as bad as I do. And I truly ask anybody about me. I love to show somebody, especially blackfish jigging. Once I picked up blackfish jigging, I haven't even brought a rod for rigging. I can't even tell you how long. Even Ocean City, water. Everybody says, "How you jigging?" I said, "I'll just use a heavier jig," and I still do it.
Wow, Bruce. Because I tell you this, man, I haven't. It's probably been about 7 years now since I've been. All right, I'm lying. Maybe about 3 years since I've been back to New Jersey and I've been offshore. But when I went offshore, we went for like sea bass, flounder, you know, with just buddy's boat for a quick trip before I had to get on the plane to fly back. But I have never broken myself into jig fishing, dude. When I was there growing up, it was snafu rig was a go-to. You might paint your leads, your leads to make them different colors, but the jigs were just, I feel like, gaining popularity. And it was one of them things where, like, you were either with trying new things or you were just, sticking to the proven. You know what I mean? And I mean, hell, I stuck to the proven snafu, and I didn't even have a chance to break into the jig world yet, dude. So when you talk about stuff like this, dude, I am dying because I'm a light kind of finesse fisherman, and I mean, what's better than a jig? I mean, you know what I mean? You're not going to get that with a snafu and an 8-ounce, dude. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Listen, I'll tell you what. There's nothing better than a 15+ pound blackfish picking up 10 ounces and swimming away with it. I love that.
Sure, dude.
Listen, but there's also nothing better than a 20-pounder picking up a jig either. But, like I said, I was chasing that line class record. So when I started jigging, and I might have gave false information to a lot of people because I told them what I was doing. But so now I'm not going to go to a wreck that I know is 30 feet high and fish 20-pound test. Like, I'm just not going to do it because I know the results I'm going to get.
Right.
So that's why, like, the guys that fish with me, I make sure if I'm going to a certain spot, I say, listen, just change your leaders. We're going to fish 40 or we're going to fish 60 here. This is what we're going to do. And because I already know I've fished them 30 times, I've seen people break off fish like, oh, I can't land them. So now I know, and that's the learning of it. So when I say, hey, I'm fishing light, I'm only fishing certain pieces. I'm fishing spots that don't come up high. I'm fishing tiny, tiny piles that a party boat's not going to try to fish. Even somebody as big as Jerry's not going to try to fish just because it's too much of a pain in the ass to get a boat on such a small piece.
Sure.
But
And that's what's going to set you apart, Bruce. That's what's going to set you apart, buddy.
And that's what has, and that's really what has. And you got to do it for yourself, though. You can't count on charter boats and you can't count on party boats if you really want to truly chase these things. And I get a lot of people that, send me messages asking me all the time, like, how do you do it? I put time in. I spent an entire year where I really wasn't catching anything big, and I've caught big fish. I've fished with the best of the best black fishermen in the Northeast. They were all customers of mine for years when they all started talking.
Sure.
When I was a young kid, but I got to watch everybody at the rail all day. So I saw what people were doing right and I saw what people were doing wrong. So it made me that much more ahead of a lot of people. So when I fish with my friends, they kind of look at me like I'm nuts. They're like, I wouldn't even think of some of the things you do. Right. And they're like, well, let's go try this wreck. And I'm like, we can't fish this wreck on the Southeast because they're not going to bite. They live on the other side. And they just look at me like I'm crazy.
That's awesome, dude. That's deep. That's deep, Bruce, for sure, dude. And I love it, bro, because I'm telling you, man, it's like you're speaking a whole different lingo that I speak, I feel like, to one other buddy down here down south, dude. And I'm like, listen, I spent, just like you, spent many times out there not catching anything, dude, till it was just enough. And I had enough, and I knew there was some change I had to make, and I figured it out. And now it's like, we have these conversations back and forth where I'm like, hey, when you going out? And he's like, oh, after work for about an hour. And I'm like, tide's not right, dude. It'd be too low. And, the way the bait was shifting in the inlet, man, I don't think they're going to be on that side today. What are you talking about, bro? We only got an hour window. And I'm like, listen, I'm just telling you, 3 more hours, the 40s will be in there, and we're going to, produce within 20 minutes. I don't want to wait 3 hours to produce in, what I mean? Like 20 minutes. So I get it, buddy. I get it. And it's awesome, dude. It really is. If you had, Bruce, if you were sitting here talking to a new guy, right? He's like, watching all these big timers catch all these, double-digit tog, and he's thinking to himself, I got to get on a party boat. What bit of information would you give him, dude?
Somebody wanting to get on a party boat?
Sure. Or even get into tog fishing, period. Say screw the party boat. Say you don't even have the chance or the money to get out on a party boat and maybe hit a rock pile. Well, what information you giving a newbie that's just getting into tog fishing?
I would never recommend anybody to start with a jig just because blackfish like to stare at the bait. So if you move anything, especially big fish hunting as well, I'm going to mix it in because it's really 2 different styles of fishing. Now, you can go to a wall or a jetty or a bridge and catch, short blackfish. You might catch your couple keepers here and there. And they don't mind if a jig's moving. So Somebody that tries to jig fish on land, they don't care. The tide's going to move the jig anyway. The crabs are going to be flying by. So it's a whole different animal fishing from land with a jig. So if you try to take that style of fishing and get on a party boat and think you're going to do that, you're never going to get a bite. Never. That jig has to stay just as steady as your rig. Now, rig fishing, and this is why I would recommend somebody starting to blackfish, I would recommend a rig. Me personally, still to this day, I only fish 8 to 10 ounces. Never any less, unless I need more. Why? Because I know when that big fish comes over, he's going to pick the bait up and he's going to want to see what it's about. A big fish, they're not that stupid. They didn't get to be 15 plus pounds or 20 pounds from dying eating every hook. So as long as you don't move it and you stick through that bite, everybody wants to swing at that bite so bad because it was a bad bite. But if you wait that extra 30 seconds or a minute, the results are out of this world.
And that's
especially with the big fish.
That's amazing information, dude, and a little, perfect, tear out of your notebook, dude, because a lot of these guys that are successful with these bigger fish have told me, and even on this podcast with Kelly, she says, I felt the bite and everybody told me to swing and I let it sit, or I dropped it back down and it sat and I didn't move it, and that's when they got their fish, dude. So, I mean, listen to him, guys. Bruce didn't get where he's at, dude, talking crap over here. I promise you that.
So I don't know if Kelly told you, but I was right next to her when she caught that fish.
No, dude. Maybe she did, but maybe it just went in and out. But no.
Yeah, man. She was so excited. She's like, I want to fish next to you. She's like, let's do it. And her husband are great friends of mine. I love them to death. Do anything for them. We fish a lot together, especially through the winter. James is going through some stuff with some surgery, but he'll bounce back. And he incredible fisherman. And again, I think I stuck with them because they wanted to learn and their heart was in it. So when I met them and they saw what I could produce, kindly they said, we want to learn. And I'm the type of person, I want people to catch these things. Like, I enjoy watching James and his wife catch monsters next to me, knowing that maybe something I said might have helped them through the way. And Kelly was right next to me, and I'm like, don't swing. And he just swam away with 10 ounces, and that was it. It was him.
Wow,
and that's
dude.
I say that to a newbie. The more you swing, if you had a shot at a big fish, you now just scared him away. He's going to go look at another bait. You're better off feeding them. Feed them 10 baits. If you come up bare hook, then swinging on a fish, you'll get your big fish. You got to be patient. And that's why, like, guys that fish in February become very good black fishermen, because you don't have a million bites a day. You get 4 bites a day, and they're all over 10 pounds.
Right.
So it actually teaches you to be a more patient black fisherman, and that's where I said where, like, Delaware came in huge for me. I didn't start really going down to Ocean City until the last probably 2 or 3 years when I met James and Kelly. They're like, we really want you to come down there. And then, me doing research, I said, absolutely, I'm ready to go.
Oh, yeah.
Now
Bruce, are you sorry, buddy? Go ahead.
I just put a boat together with my uncle, another spot lock boat on a trailer, and I got the line class, so now I'm after one fish. That was literally my question, dude. Is if you were going down on party boats or charters all the time, or if you were rigging something and trailering it down to be on your own personal. I have a lot of respect for all them boats in Ocean City. I fish with Kane. I fish with Monty. I fish with all them guys. Chase, he's another one. I would never cross into their waters. I would pay to fish with them and enjoy the day with them than to come in there and them think that I was trying anything funny. And I know there's more fish just a little further south that it's going to cost a little more. But you know what? I won't lose friends over it. Like I said, it's huge for me. I go up and down the East Coast, man, and I get to see this fishery all over. It teaches me so much. It makes me such a better fisherman knowing that, because they eat different everywhere. I'm going to be honest. But if you're a black fisherman, you figure them out within 10 minutes.
Sure.
But they eat different everywhere.
So I've heard a bunch of different rumors, and they're really not rumors. I guess they've been proven that blackfish feed on a multitude of different, baits. Have you ever been successful fishing for blackfish with sand fleas, dude?
I've never personally caught a single blackfish on a sand flea, but I also don't fish skinny water in the bay either.
Okay.
So buddies of mine have used them, and we have Asians by us as well that are in our jetties, and they work great. So,
Sure.
you know, guys that come with me, they're thinking, oh, I'm going to bring Asians on the boat. I'm going to show this guy we're going to catch them, and I go to 80 foot of water and they don't get a bite. The Asians just don't live there. But if you go
Right.
fish a jetty, you're going to catch 30, 40 blackfish because, you know, that's their habitat. That's what they see. So yes, absolutely. If you're land fishing, sand fleas are awesome. If you're jetty, bridge, anything like that, absolutely. But I
And,
just,
you know,
I don't
from
do it.
doing this podcast, dude, that's kind of, you know, learning different bait techniques that these guys are using. That again brings me back to kind of where, you know, I obsess over bait migration. So what you said makes perfect sense, dude. If you're fishing bay, if you're fishing falling sod bank, or, you know, anywhere that sand fleas could actually be eaten in the wild, then yeah, sure, it makes sense. But for me, I heard guys taking these things offshore, and I was just like, I've got to ask Bruce, man, when I get him on here, dude, because this makes no friggin' sense to me, dude. Like, how are you taking something that's literally on the beach, offshore, and hey, maybe it was one of these souffle kind of deals where they were looking at it like, holy shit, I've seen these, I can't believe they're out here, and that's how they're catching them. But I figured the likeliness of it was slim to none, you know?
Yeah. Now they get picky certain times of the year. Once our water temp gets about 40 degrees, they'll get picky and they'll actually eat cooked shrimp.
I've heard this too, dude, and I
Which
couldn't friggin' believe it.
To a sand flea.
Yeah, that's insane, man. Cooked too, not raw, right?
No, because it'll fall off the hook too fast. But I'll be honest, I've also never caught anything over 10 pounds on a shrimp myself personally, or on a boat that I've been on.
Mm.
You know, and
So it makes
but
sense.
they do work to fill the box. Oh yeah, absolutely.
So we'll change gears a little bit. Let's talk about striped bass, dude. Are you now trolling for these striped bass up north? Are you running bunker spoons? Are you running mojos? Or are you diamond jigging for them when you see the birds? Like, what's your go-to for the bass right now?
Most of the time, see, this time of year, up until 2 years ago, we were allowed to snag and drop. So that was my thing. I don't troll. I don't enjoy it. I'd rather be togging. My reefs are closer. So once my live bait fishing here is over, that's pretty much it for me with the bass now that I'm not charter fishing. Now, if I was charter fishing, that would be a whole different story.
Sure.
You know, you give them what they want. The guys want to stick with the bass. Absolutely. We're going to be trolling. We're going to do whatever it takes. Right now, some guys are trolling and catching them, and some guys are catching them with live baits, snagging a bunker, throwing them down on a circle hook. And it's savage. You know, yesterday I had one like 53 inches. We fished for 10 minutes on the way home. I found a bunker school, caught one, dropped it down. We got one fish and we went home, you know, and that's really what it's about. You can't keep them because they're so big. So to me, to sit there and mess with them all day, I mean, it kind of sucks. But I'm a person that cares for the fishery. I've been in the industry my whole life, you know, and the regulations are only getting worse for us, it seems, unfortunately.
I had buddies, Bruce, that you know aren't commercial guys. They're not charter captains, you know, but they're fishermen at heart, man, and they're diehards. And I got a call. Probably I had to be early spring when everything changed, and they were telling me like, you know, we're done with bass, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. These are guys, man, that would, you know, fish the power plants, dude. You know, March 1st just to get that first friggin' bite, and they're telling me we're done with the bass, and I'm like, what's going on? They tell me about these regulations, and they're like, look, dude, you know, it's not that we want to keep the 50s. It's not that we want to bring home this, you know, big producing cow. It's just we feel we're doing more harm, like you said, targeting these things all day than we are being productive and trying to be proactive with, you know, maintaining the species, dude. So I could see that even more so with you being a charter guy, dude. I mean, you don't want to put the hurting on them, especially if you're not being able to keep these fish, dude, you know?
We get behind these 6-pack boats, man, and once they take pictures and this and hands in the gills, I mean, you know what happens. They all float away. And that's pretty sad. You know, it really is sad, the regulations they put on us. But they are a great fish, and they're a hell of a fight. So the guys togging. If you do have a bad day of togging, the bass are always a bonus. You know, you go play with a couple of them, get everybody one or two, try to get a picture quick and let it go. That's my thing. I won't spend a day on them. To me, that's just crazy. I'll go chase a bluefin around, before I
Sure.
stick with the bass. You know what I mean? Those
Oh,
bluefins,
yes.
they're another wild breed.
And listen, that brings me into our next question, dude, before we run out of time here. All right, so tell me what it's like in a day when I hire Bruce, right? I give Bruce a call. I'm biting at the bit. I'm watching videos and I'm seeing pictures and I'm like, Bruce, listen, I'm flying in, dude. I got all my own gear. Do I need my own gear? What time am I meeting you? And what's a day look like chartering with Bruce?
What time of year is it?
Let's go let's go now. Let's do it.
You come up now. You saw what we've been doing the last couple of days. I've been sending you some pictures. That's exactly what we would do. We would break the inlet first light, find some bait, get a couple nice pictures with some nice 40, 50-pound bass, and then we're off to play with the toothy critters. And it's been insane right now. Now is great because the charter guys and the party boats can't really target them because you're only allowed one.
Okay.
So they're sea bassing, they're chasing the stripers all day just to get pictures and put people on fish, which is great for a guy like me because
Sure.
this is when I do all my recon work because I have the extra life on the pieces for everybody else on the boat to catch while I'm moving all around trying to see holes, find things, find where big ones are and things like that. I had so many heartbreaks this week, and I fished a total new area that I've never fished before. Nobody said. I just did a little bit more research. Guy said, let's go try something different. We were catching big fish consistently at my spots, but it was just, I don't want to ruin it before the season opens, when we can bring home all nice 5-6 pound fish and have our 5 of them, man. It's a beautiful day for everybody.
Sure.
So right now I do most of my recon. And it's great because, like I said, we get our, we get the cream on the top before it was taken off,
And that's
us hungry.
Bruce, that's like I gotta tell you, man, more and more kudos to you, dude, because just what you said right there about fishing a place that you've never fished before. A lot of guys stay safe, dude. A lot of guys stay in their comfort zone, and I can't blame them. Listen, I know you won't either, dude. When it comes to making money and putting a paycheck on the friggin' table for your family, I get it. But to get to that next level where you're at, dude, and where you're heading, you literally have to break that comfort zone. And I do it all the time out here on this river. We have 100 freaking miles of river, man, with like no bottom in sight. So if like I go to the left a quarter of a mile, I'm in an area that I've never friggin' drifted over, dude. It's so friggin' vast out here to where like I do that on purpose because if I get so focused in on like I know first light, the friggin' sea, the sea trout will be here. I know if I go a little bit deeper, when the light comes up, I might be able to pull a snook out of this mangrove. I go a little deeper, I can pull a flatty out of the bottom, and then I'm done. If the sun's too high, it's 97 fucking degrees on my head, and I'm done for the day, right? But if I just push myself to the right just a little bit more, dude, I surprise myself every time, man. And that's what you're doing, dude. You're trying something new, and that's how you put these numbers in the boat, man.
Thank you. Yeah, it's not easy, and like I'll say it again and again. It's time in. Time in finds them, and like you said, you got to get out of that comfort zone. I had no idea what I was going to produce, no idea. But you know what? I took my buddies. They trusted me. They've seen it before. When I had my own boat, I had all fresh machine, pretty much what I looked at on the internet, and just ran with that. Now, unfortunately, the time of year last year when I had all those fish over 20 pounds, it was like right at the end of the season. And it actually closed the day I got my last big one on the jig. It was 23 pounds. The season closed that day. So it's insane. Yeah. So like right around the end of April is also insane up here if you ever want to come up and do some togging. April or now until November, man, Jersey's insane. And you guys see it if you follow anybody from up here in the Northeast. Anywhere you go, even Rhode Island, back 10 years ago, Rhode Island never had fish over 10, 15 pounds. You can go up there, every fish was 5 pounds. I've done it as a little kid. And now you go up there, my buddies went up last year. There was 2 over 20 caught. The state record was caught. Those fish, you never heard of 20s up there before, I mean, it's a fun fishery, very, very addictive fishery. And more than happy, man. Anytime you want to come up, you let me know.